Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Nathan, and if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, so that's pretty cool. And I'm just very thankful, so for everyone who has subscribed and taken a chance, thank you. Today we're gonna be doing a fun little thing. I've been wanting like I feel like the 70s jumpsuit is such an iconic fashion thing in the 70s. I've tried finding one at the thrift store, but I usually can't find like a vintage one. The ones that I usually find, they're like workers ones for like carpenters or electricians, and they're usually like way too big for me. Also, they're not vintage, they're just like Dickies or, you know, brands like that. I don't know why I had this idea, but I thought I could make one out of old nurse scrubs. So I found this top and bottom at the thrift store for $3 for both of them. So this is gonna be like our foundation for the project. The problem is I didn't really realize this at the time because it was kind of dim in the thrift store, but they're kind of like, I don't even know if you can tell, but this one's a little bit more golden and this one's a little bit more like a pea and snow type of color. Like, I don't even know how to describe this color. Which is weird because they were right next to each other and they're both the Cherokee brand, so whatever, I don't know. Our first step is actually going to be, I'm going to use this stuff. I've used it once before. It's called RIT Color Remover, and it's sort of like, you can use it to sort of like bleach your clothes in a way, but it's like not bleach. I used it once before in my video I did a few videos ago. What was it? DIYing modern clothes vintage. I used it then and it didn't actually work at all, just like a little bit. So I decided to give it another chance and hopefully it will at least somewhat take out the color so that I kind of just have a nice base to work with. I would recommend getting them the same color just because you don't really have to worry about doing this. You can kind of just work with that color. The reason I am trying to take the color out is because I don't want the colors to be different when I dye the whole thing, because I am going to be dyeing it a little bit darker color. I haven't decided if I'm just going to do like an orange or like a dark yellow, or if I'm going to go like full on like dark navy or black. I don't know yet. I think it depends on how well this color remover works. So I hope I kind of explained what I'm doing, but the first thing I'm going to do is try to take out the color of this, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, well, that didn't actually seem to do anything. I'm just going to go with what I have here, so I'm going to assemble the jumpsuit, and then I'm going to try to dye it after it's all finished. So yeah. Okay, first step is actually going to be taking in some of this extra pant fabric. The first step for that is we're actually going to take our seam ripper and seam rip out the hem. Once that's all opened up, I'm just going to remove the elastic and the drawstring. Now that I have it completely de-stitched and opened up, as you can see, I'm going to iron it down just to get rid of some of these creases. Okay, and this is where things are gonna get like slightly complicated, but not really. So on the side here, there's a stitch right by the pocket that goes all the way down to the bottom of the leg. Because there's a side pocket, it's gonna make it slightly more difficult than if it was like no pocket, or if there was like the front face pocket, you know? You could usually just sew straight down, but can't really do that with this type of pocket. So what we actually have to do is seam rip down the side right on that line. I seam ripped probably about down to the knee, because that's how much I needed to take in personally. Once you have that all opened, you can kind of just try them on and fold it so that it fits you. And then pin it. That's the best way I can explain what I'm doing here, but I hope you understand. So this is what I have it looking like with all of the pins in it. There, I also pinned down the pockets right here just so that they stayed, and they will stay while I'm sewing it. And now that I have it pinned, I'm going to sew along the line that I made with the pins. And I'm just gonna do a plain chain stitch. I'm also using a white cotton thread so that it will dye nicely, because using a polyester thread won't dye as nicely as a cotton. Once I have it sewed, I'm just going to try it on, and if I like how it fits, I'm going to cut off the excess and do a zigzag stitch so that it doesn't fray. Okay, now that we have the bottom portion of our garment taken care of, it's time to now focus on the top. And firstly, there's like these pockets, if you can see right there, and they're kind of in our way. So our first thing is we're actually going to seam rip all of them off. Also on the side, the pockets seem to be like sewn into the side. So I'm going to kind of open the side, but I needed to open the side anyways because the bottom of our shirt or top piece is longer than the top of our bottoms. And you know, of course, we're gonna connect them together. So we needed them to be even with each other. So it's okay that we're opening up the side. But now that we have the side open, I'm gonna line it up with the bottom part and make them even with each other, basically. So I'm just pinning that, and once I have it pinned exactly right, I'm going to just take it to the sewing machine, sew a basic chain stitch all across that line. And once I have that all sewed, I can just cut off the excess and do a zigzag so that it doesn't fray. Okay, now that I have the top and the bottom fitted pretty well, I'm going to now attach them to each other. I am going to be using like a belt to hold this up because if I don't, then they're just going to fall right off my body. So, which of course, pinning it as it's falling would not be a fun task. Okay, now I'm just going to stand in front of the mirror and sort of just adjust it and sort of fold over the shirt part so that I can actually connect it where I want it to be connected. Okay, actually a bit change. I think I'm actually going, so I folded this over, which is how much like fabric I don't need. So I think I'm gonna actually cut that off right now, just so that it's easier to work with. So I'll just cut it right now. Okay, so I cut off about 3.5 inches. So it's now a lot easier to work with. Now I'm just going to pin the shirt to the pants. So I'm dumb and I realized that I actually can't get out of this with it pinned. So I'm gonna take my measuring tape, then I'm gonna measure out how much space I need to sew. Then I'm going to take it off, pin it back together, and then sew it together, okay? Okay, so I have this all sewn together now. The only problem is I can't try it on because it's like completely enclosed. So what I'm actually gonna have to do is cut a line down the middle, and that's what I'm going to be doing anyway because I'm going to be putting a zipper. But I'm going to cut it about to like 1 inch above this seam, and then I'm going to flip it inside out, try it on. If I like how it fits, I'm going to refold it inside out and then cut off this excess because there is like about 1 inch of excess. And then I'm going to do a zigzag and then finish cutting this line, and then when I get to this bottom I can just seam rip that part out. Okay, so it's finally time to put on the zipper, and I actually got this zipper at the thrift store for 25 cents, so pretty good deal. And it seems to be the perfect size, so perfect find, I guess. It is white, but I think it will dye when I dye this piece, and also even if it didn't, I do like sort of the white accent, so yeah. To do this, I'm gonna kind of just place the zipper facing down because this is inside out. And then I'm gonna sort of like, I've never put in a zipper before, so I'm not 100% sure how to do this, but the way I'm doing it, I'm just taking a little piece of the fabric and putting it together, good sides together, and then pinning it. Then I'm just going to go all the way down putting pins every inch or so. I am going to sew this with a basic chain stitch and do a zigzag, and then I'm going to come back and then sort of just mess around with the collar part. I'm kind of just going to see what works best, which I think will probably be taking that top part of the zipper, like the extra piece, and sort of like folding it in with the collar and then stitching that. So yeah. Okay, we're almost done with this, but we have a few little final touches. First thing is I want to take off these little Cherokee things. I probably should have done it before, but I thought it'd be kind of funny to leave them on, but the more I think about it, I think they might just die weirdly. So I think I'm just going to take them off with my seam ripper and then maybe iron them to get out the little stitch lines and holes. Okay, after that, so on the pants, there's actually like a little 3-inch slit down the side. And although I do think that slits at the cuffs of pants can look good sometimes, I don't think this is the case at all. I think it just doesn't look that nice. So I'm just going to sew those closed. Also, as I was trying this on, I realized that it was kind of like bulky in like the waist slash hip-ish area. So I think I'm going to make a matching belt. So to do this, I'm just gonna make like a long panel that's a few inches wide and a few inches bigger than my waist. And then once I have this strip, I'm going to fold it in half, good sides together, sew along that line, and then flip that inside out, and now I have like a little tunnel, and I'm going to feed some elastic through that tunnel, and I cut the elastic to be a few inches shorter, or a couple of inches shorter than my waist size. Once I have that elastic fed all the way through with a safety pin, I'm just going to sew it closed with a basic chain stitch. Now that I have the elastic connected, I can just take the two ends of the fabric and sort of tuck them in to each other and then sew it closed, and then I have a nice little belt. Okay, so the last and final step, now that we have pretty much everything else done, is to dye it. This is the dye I'm gonna use. It's Daffodil Yellow Rit Synthetic Fiber Dye. Upon further inspection, I noticed that this fabric is actually 65% polyester. So when it's that much polyester, you need to use a synthetic dye. So that's what I got. So I'm gonna dye the jumpsuit and the belt, both this color. I'm just gonna be dyeing it how it says on the instructions. That is our final step, and then we're done. You guys, I'm actually very impressed with how this turned out. So this is it. I put a white collar shirt under here, so don't mind. I tried like folding it up and it's kind of thick, so yep. So firstly, I am very impressed with how this turned out. I know I will probably never wear this outside of this house, except for maybe on Halloween, but that's pretty much it. Or maybe a 70s party of some sorts. I don't know. I mean, I literally made this for like under $5. Like the scrub set I got for $3. The zipper I got for 25 cents. And although I did dye it, and although the dye was like $5, that wasn't necessarily something I needed to do. I just kind of wanted to do it, and it definitely made it look a lot better. Now, it's definitely not perfect. Like, I probably could have taken a little bit more out of here. It's a little bulky, and in the back also a little bulky. But I'm definitely obsessed with how it turned out. Well, thank you guys for watching this little fun video that I just randomly decided to do. And I just hit 100 subscribers. I'm actually above now. So thank you for everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, please give it a like, comment down below, and I hope to see you later. Okay, goodbye.